Hello my fellow YouTube viewers, this is Jason from Jason G Designs. In a previous tutorial we created a landing page for a fake travel agency website using Gutenberg and my theme JGD Biz Elite. I briefly mentioned the wine enthusiast site in that tutorial. I decided to make a second tutorial for that idea using Figma. Later in another tutorial we will use JGD Biz Elite and Elementor for the actual site. And the Gutenberg landing page tutorial will be at the end of this video in a card. Also, it'll be in the description. The first thing you will want to do is sign up to create a Figma account. Upon creating an account, it will ask you a couple of questions. Then after that you can set your username and password. Now before I log in and show you the finished product of what we will be creating in this tutorial, I'd like to show you what this is based off of. So this is based off of this is something I did in a plugin earlier on. It's part of a plugin experiment. And, we're going to be creating something similar to this, but with more sections. And this is the custom front page that we will be creating in Figma. It will double as a landing page for our full wine blog. I am actually going to do the extreme act of saying goodbye to my finished mockup. I'm going to delete it, then we're going to recreate it together. So to delete a project or so, or a draft, right click and select delete. I'm new to Figma. So prior to this, I found out that before this, you could have unlimited design files, and now you're limited to 3 design files with 3 screens. The regular design files will allow you interactivity with other people and an ability to share your files. Since we're not using any of Figma's interactivity features, we will add a new draft file instead. Draft files are unlimited. So let's go to Drafts and click the plus button next to it, and click New File and Design File. As you can see, it'll save here as a draft. And then we want to give this a title of Wine Site Example. From here we want to add a new frame. So either you can click this frame shape or you can hit the F key to create a new frame. I'm going to hit the F key. Then we want to select the desktop size. The next thing we want to do is to change the background color behind the entire frame. We do that by clicking Desktop 1 up here at the top, and then going to the fill color. The color we'll be using is 402020, a hex code. I briefly wanted to mention that I set up a tutorial resources page at GitHub if you would like to follow along as we're going. It is at github/jgpws/tutorial-resources. From there you will find JGD Biz Elite and then the landing page wine site, which is right here. So we'll start with the header. Before that, we want to create a rectangle shape for our header at the very top. So to do that, we can hit the R key and drag on the rectangle. Now we want to make the width of this rectangle 1440 pixels for desktop size. And we want to make the height 160 pixels. Next, we want to set a gradient for our background of our header. So for that, we'll go to the Fill tool and we'll click this swatch right here. And at the top is a drop down. We want to choose linear for linear gradient. And here I'm going to refer to some notes I took earlier to get the colors. For the first color value, we're going to enter the 32000 for the hex code. For the second value, we're going to enter 640000. We also want to make the opacity 100%. Good. The next step will be to add the header logo to the upper left of the header. For that, we will drag and drop. Okay, so we'll grab the wineglasswhite.png file, and you can find this file in the tutorial resources page that I set up. From here, we want to make this 20 pixels from the left side and 20 pixels from the top. For the next part of the tutorial, we're going to make the background of the canvas part a light gray, because we're going to make the next section the same color as the background. Let's click the fill and change it to CCC. Next, we want to drag another rectangle onto the canvas. That's the previous background color. We want to make sure to align this with the top of the header and drag it all the way to the right side, where it'll click into place. And the fill color here will be 402020. From here, we will add our wine bottle image that will go onto our header, just by dragging and dropping it onto the canvas. To keep things aligned, let's add a grid to our layout. So what we want to do is click the desktop title in the upper left of the canvas and select the plus next to layout grid. We want our grid to be 3 columns. So to do that, let's click the grid icon next to under layout grid. And from there, you'll see the grid, and there's a drop down menu below the word grid. I'm going to choose columns and set it to 3. It looks like it's already set from before. We also want to set the margin to 10% on each side, which is 144 pixels. Now we will want to move our wine image into the first third column and approximately center it by eyeball or so. Also, holding the Alt key, we want to move this to 50 pixels from the bottom of the header. Let's rename our layers so we can keep better track of them. We'll rename rectangle 1 to header, and then we can rename rectangle 2 to hero section. Let's change the hero section's height to 520 pixels. For that, we'll just simply go here to the height under the design section. Cool. Let's add some text to our hero section. For that, we hit the T key for text. We'll just click and type in this month's wine selection. Also, I'm going to refer to my notes again for the next steps. So we want to select Crimson Text as the font family and make the font weight bold and the size 27. we can use Figma's automatic centering capabilities to move the text to the center of the middle column. Very good. Just below that, we want to drag out another text box to be 2 columns across, just like so. From here, we're going to get some text from lipsum.com for lorem ipsum dummy text. And we want to generate 2 paragraphs. I want to paste it in here. As you can see, this is the same size as our heading. We want it to be just a normal text size. What we're going to do is triple click to select all. And we want to the text to be regular size. And then we can make it 16 pixels. Also the same for everything else, it looks like. Let's move this over a little bit too. To align, okay. If necessary, you can use the Alt key to remove the margins in between the header and the text as well, like this. Hold the Alt key, select, and then hold the Alt key, and just move this up and down. So make sure that's 0. That's it. Let's see what else. So we're going to group these together, the heading and the text. Select the two of these and hit some Control G to group. The next thing we want to do is vertically align the background with this text here. So for that, we can select this. We can also select the text. And then we have the align vertical centers, which would be Alt V. As mentioned earlier, the destination for this design will be an Elementor template. Elementor has different shapes that can be used as section dividers. We will emulate a wave shape divider, as Elementor's is a little more complex. So for this, we want to convert the rectangle to a shape that has a Bezier curve at the bottom. To do this, we can double click, and it looks like it already sets a vertex point here. So we're going to go to the bin tool and just drag out some handles. Looks good. So double clicking will take us out of this mode and put us back in selection mode. Now from here, we're going to do the red wine section. What we're going to do is duplicate this section shape, and then we're going to reverse it horizontally. So to duplicate, we hit Control D. Then we can move this down a little bit and hold down the Shift key to make sure it stays in place. This is good. And from here, we want to right click and then flip horizontal. I also want to change the color. Let me see what's in my notes here. Yeah, it's going to be 320000 for the color. So the next thing we want to do while this is highlighted is, you can see there's 2 sections called hero sections. We want to take the one that's highlighted and then double click it and change it to a red wine section. And then finally, we want to move this right below the hero section shape, so it's below there. We're going to have about four more sections or so, or 3 more. So in order to do that, we want to change the height of the entire canvas to be a little bit taller to accommodate those. So we're going to change the height to 3024. Oh, I'm sorry, let me see. It's 3072 pixels, which is about 4 sections high. Next, we want to drag the red wine image into the red wine section. Let's drag this onto the canvas. Then we want to put it into the this area here. We want to change the width of this to 320 pixels so it fits better. And then just drag it into approximately a third of the last third column by eyeballing it. After that, we want to move this new red wine section down a little bit, holding Shift. We want to move it until it's just exactly, the very top of this is exactly flush with the top of the wave of the previous section. Let's use the text tool again to type in our header for our next section. It'll say about red wine. This time we want to make the text size bold again, and the size will be 25 pixels. Alright. Let's just move it into place a little bit. Very good. Using the text tool again, let's drag out a text box just below the previous headline. Let's just span 2 columns here. So inside of it, I have some text from Wikipedia that's been prepared for this, and you can find this in the tutorial resources on my GitHub account. So we'll just copy and paste these. Into the text box. Now inside the text box, we want to click hit Control A on the keyboard to select all, and we want to make the text size. We want to make the text weight regular, and the text size will be 16. You can also align the headline with this over to the left. Let's move the main text down a little bit. And what we're going to do with the heading is we're going to click it, and then we're going to hold the Alt key, but place our mouse within the shape that's just above it, the previous shape. Holding that, we want to make sure we want to make our heading 64 pixels below the previous bottom part of the wave. By using the arrow keys, the down arrow key. That's good. And then we can move this back up to approximately align with the bottom of the header. Let's drag the bottom of the red wine section shape so it looks a little bit more even with the text and image. We just click at the bottom and drag. We can catch here. We also want to click the section shape and the image to vertically center. That'll be click this and then click Shift and click the image, and then align vertical centers. I forgot that I wanted to italicize the section that begins with source here. What we can do is just double click and just highlight the section the text part that says source, and you want to change the font style to italic. Similarly to the red wine section, now we're going to work on the white wine section. What we're looking to do is to create a design with alternating wave shapes. As you can see, one's opposite the other. So we're going to do like we did before and copy this and paste it, and then reverse it horizontally. You do Control D for duplicate, and pull it straight down using Shift. And then we want to do right click, flip horizontal. And then we also want to rename this white wine section. Next, since this is the white wine section, we want to recolor the background to be a little bit lighter. So let's do that. So according to my notes, the background color will be B29F9F. And we also want to move this layer below the red wine section so it's beneath. And just like before, we want to drag this layer down to meet the top of the previous wave shape. Let's hold the Shift key while we're doing this. You can use the arrow keys to move it into that position you need it. Good. Now we can bring in our white wine image, this time placing it on the left side. And just like before, we want to resize it to 320 pixels wide. And notice how Figma automatically scales everything proportionally as a result of this button to constrain the proportions. Alright, let's move this into place a little bit, about a third, about approximate center. We also want to add a header to the top of this section as well. For that, we can copy and paste the header from the last section. We do Control C and then Control V. And just move it up toward here. And then we want to double click, select all, and we type this as about white wine. Let's adjust the text and align it correctly. The first thing we want to do is change the color, so we have a darker color against a lighter background. We're just going to change that to pure black. We'll click to go outside of here. Then we want to align it against the edge of the column. Next thing we want to do is put this 64 pixels below the bottom of the previous wave, which is here. So we hold down Alt and use the arrow keys to move this 64 pixels below. And we will once again drag out a text box for our body text as well. We'll have it span to 2 columns. And then we want to copy and paste our text for the white wine section from a Wikipedia file. This will also be in tutorial resources. Then we want to adjust it according to the size it's supposed to be. I'm going to do Control A. Then we want to make the text regular again. We want to make the font size 16 pixels. And also we want to italicize the source part at the bottom. Wrapping up this section, we have a few more tasks. What we want to do is to eliminate the margin between the heading and the body text. So we can do Alt and then just move the body text up until it's 0. You want to just make sure that this text looks aligned with the total shape of the bottom of the wave, being approximately 64 pixels to make it look a little aligned. Then the next thing to do finally is just to take the image with the background and make sure to vertically center it. You may notice a lot of our styles are repetitive, especially our text styles. We can make use of Figma's text styles feature to apply styles at the click of a button. For instance, let's work with this header. So what we want to do is double click to go into our group and then click the header at the top. So this is going to be according to an H2 style header. In the text section, I'm going to click the style button here and then click the plus button next to text styles to create a style. Then we're going to name it Wine Site H2. Let's do the same for the rest of our sections as well, but the size of these will be in H3, which is 25 pixels. On this one, we could just apply the style. And that's it. We could also adjust the body text as well. We want to adjust the line height to be the same as JGG Biz Elite's line height. So what we can do is double click this and then Control A to select all inside of here. No, sorry. I double click one more time to select just the text. And then we want to change the line height to 20 pixels. For this, we can apply a new style, a text style, and we'll call it Wine Site Body. And then we want to apply it to each of these sections as well, except for the italicized part, which will be a new style unto itself. So let's highlight this all the way down to here. Then apply the Wine Site Body style. And also here. Then we can go ahead and create the italic style. So we just simply highlight this and then do another text style. Wine Site Italics. Italic. And just apply it to this one as well. Continuing on, we're going to do our Rosé Wine section. So for that, we're going to duplicate again and change the background color and Control D and drag down, holding Shift. Alright. So let's refer to my notes here. The background color will be 7F6060. And we want to rename Rosé Wine section. And move this layer beneath the white wine section. And we can also move down to the bottom of the previous weight. And then we're going to reverse. We want to flip horizontal. Let's add our heading, and this time putting it 64 pixels below the previous layer. But instead of typing it in, I'm going to copy and paste from the Wikipedia file, as the word rosé has an accent above it, and I don't know how to do that on my computer, so we'll just do this way. So copy this. We hit the T key for the text and paste it here. It looks like it has the last style used, which was the italic style. So we want to apply our heading style here, heading 3. Let's go here, text, and wine type H3. I'm sorry, we need to highlight this. Text, once again, wine type H3. Yeah, looks good. With white text on the dark background. So let's also move it into place against the left side of the leftmost column. And then we can use the Alt key to move it down to exactly 64 pixels, or up in this case. And let's add the body text here as well. We're going to do Control A, and then we want to apply. Let's unlink this because it looks like it's automatically linked, the wine side H3 style. We want to use detach style to get rid of that. And re-click this again and apply wine side body. Hold on, let's see. Alright, looks like we'll have to detach the style one more time. Because we want to apply wine site body just to this here, but not including the source part at the bottom. So text and then wine site body. Alright, so it looks like I had to pull this text box a little bit down further so I can access this. Now from here, it looks like wine type body is applied to this, but not applied to the source part. So we want to apply the italic style to the source part. There we go. And once again, we want to pull down the bottom part to make sure the text looks evenly centered vertically. That looks good. Then we want to bring in our image as well. And that will be this one here. So we want to put this in the third column. You want to make the image size 320 pixels. And just move it to the approximate center. The last step of this section, of course, is to vertically center the image with the background. Our final section will be our orange wine section. What we're going to do is duplicate this just like before, and then drag down as well again. And this time the background color will be, let's see, 321700. From here we'll do the exact same thing as we did with the rest of them, so I won't need to tell how to do it this time. This time we want to make the height 320 pixels instead. And we're done with the About Orange Wine section. One last thing we want to do is just change the background behind the entire canvas back to the color it was, which is the same color as the background behind this section, the hero section. I believe it's yeah, it's that color, the dull red color. And that's it for this section. We now have most of our landing front page done with each section almost complete. But as you can see in the left sidebar here, our layers are messy and disorganized. Let's take some time to clean up and rename these layers. So first we're going to start with the header, and we're going to select the background, the gradient background, and our logo. Then we're going to group these together hitting Ctrl G. So this is group 2, as you can see it created down here. So we want to double click that and rename it header. Then inside where we had a previously named layer called header, we want to rename this as gradient. So then we want to proceed to do that for each of our sections. So this section here will be the hero section. We just choose all 3 of these. Then we want to group these together. Group 2. And we can rename this hero section. And then we want to add the word shape at the end of hero section where it was previously just the shape. And we want to do this for all the rest of our layers. But I won't record the rest, I'll just record the finished layers and how it's organized. Using our final orange wine section as an example, I can show you how everything has been organized. So we have so it's a section with the image and all our text and heading, and then we also have the shape. I appended the word shape onto the end of these to differentiate between that layer name and the group name. One thing you'll notice is that this is now in front of the previous layer, which we don't want. That's messing up the design. So what we want to do is put the layers in the same order that they are in the document, which means the header will go up top, and then the red wine section beneath that, and so forth. As you can see, when I move the rose wine section, the orange wine section is now below it where it's supposed to go. Oh yes, and let's put the hero section right below the header as well. One thing I forgot is a standard on most landing pages, a call to action. We are going to stretch the hero section here a little, and we're going to add a button, and then we're going to move the other sections down. This is made much easier as each section is now grouped. To add a button, we're going to make use of Figma's auto layout feature, which adds specified padding around our text. So let me refer to my notes here to see what we need to do. So we're just going to use the text tool to type the word button just underneath our main text here. And then we're going to make the text size 18 pixels and the font weight will be bold. We also want to change our font style to crimson text. Next, we want to convert this into a auto layout. So to do that, you get to simply hit Shift and A. And as you can see down here, it says auto layout has been added. Now from here, we want to add a fill to the background. So click the fill button, the plus next to the fill button, and then our let's see in our notes we have the fill color will be 77845E. And we want to make the text a dark color to contrast against the button background. So this text color I'm going to make pure black. We also want to center between the two rightmost columns, so it'll be centered with the text above. Just like so. And then we also want to make the button a little bit bigger. So what we're going to do is add some padding. Now the way this works is you could do a comma separated values for two different types of padding, with the top and bottom for the first number and the left and right for the second number. So here we're going to do 20 and 40 pixels. So let's type in our actual call to action text. It will say, see our entire wine collection. You notice as I'm typing, the padding stays intact around the text as well. And that's how auto layout works. So now what we want to do is recenter this again. Let's select all four of the rest of our sections and move them down to make space for the button. Holding Shift key. And we can zoom out a little bit for this purpose. Let's move this button down a little bit, just to have a little bit more space between the button and the paragraph above it. That seems good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to reselect all four extra sections. Let's zoom out a little bit for this too. We'll hold the Shift key to select more than one. And now holding the Alt key with our button selected, we're gonna move all the sections up to be 64 pixels below the button using the up arrow key here. Zooming in, once again hitting the plus key, we want to move the hero section down a little bit, but we only want to move down just the shape of the hero section, not the whole thing, but it's also grouped. So we're going to go into the group for the hero section and then select only hero section shape. And from here we want to move this down to match the very top of the, we want the top of the wave to match the bottom of the flat part right here. Finally, we want to rename frame 1, which refers to our button, into hero button. If you want to know more information about how auto layout works with Figma, I left a link to their tutorial in the description. Since our website has a footer at the bottom, I also decided to put together a fake footer file just to show how it would look on the website. So for that, we'll go into our images and we'll get a fake footer.png. We'll just go ahead and drag that onto the canvas. And what we want to do is just simply put this into place and scale it up. And you can hold the shift key to constrain the proportions. Let's turn off the grid to see our final layout, since it's kind of distracting. To do so, we can go click the desktop one in the layers panel, and then simply click the eyeball to hide the grid. So zooming in, we can see what our final landing page, cover page looks like. Very good. And that is it for the Figma portion of this tutorial. The next step will be to convert this over to a real home/landing page using JGD Biz Elite and Elementor. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.